I'm going to talk about me, because philosophy is usually about abstract things that you think about in the third person. But you probably know I got my lung cancer diagnosis about 5 months ago. December 21. Very symbolic, I thought, it being the longest night and the shortest day, was when I got the news. And I have to tell you that I just went into shock. Okay. But before I went into shock, when this gal told me that I had this diagnosis, I was very fortunate in that I thought, well, everybody gets a medical adventure at some point, right? And we're all going to die. And here's mine. Okay, now I didn't think that was going to be that way because my folks lived into their 90s, so I thought I'd be okay. But, one day it's going to happen. So I said, well, okay, this is my day. So this is a new dispensation. And I think I told the gal, well, okay, that's what it is. And let me just say that I'm really grateful for my life. I've lived, I've had my kids, I've traveled, I've thought, I've written, I've done. And if this is it, well, that's it. And I walked out. I have to say, I did take an OxyContin that night. And not for pain either at that point either. Well, then I fell into this river, what I'm calling the river of medical adventures. So the way I look at it now is, I had a life up until 5 months ago on the left bank of this river, right? And if I look back there, I see the old Jeff, who was traveling and went to China and 3 times to Europe with Jane and here and there and did all this stuff and had all these plans and a lot of energy, and rode my bike, did all sorts of stuff. And I'm very grateful for that life. But again, I'm very fortunate. I look at it and I go, that was then. This is now. And it's a different scene altogether. So I jumped into that medical adventure river, and I've been going across it. Well, now, after 5 months, cancer is a funny deal, and once you go to oncology, you meet amazing people there, by the way. I wouldn't recommend that as a way to meet them, but they're there, and sometimes very inspirational people. They're all living with a process, like that doctor said. It's not like you have cancer, it's like you're cancering. It's a process, right? And I'm slowly figuring out how it works in modern medicine here, with these chemo and all of that. And, it either works or it doesn't. And they don't know why it works for some people and why it doesn't work for other people. So I've had all these adventures and lots of procedures and tests and this and that. And the first chemo didn't work after a while. And I started having a lot of pain in my back. And I find that was the most demoralizing thing, to be in pain all the time. And so we started a new chemo, and I'm on a trial. And I choose to believe that I'm on the trial medicine. But the result was that 90% of the pain is gone. And I just had a big blood test, and my cancer number went down from 70 to 50. And I had a CAT scan, which is going to show that the tumors are shrinking. I just feel that they are. So you never know what your break is, okay, on this. But now I'm on the right bank. This is a new life. My job is to have these treatments and stuff, and to be punctilious about my blood tests and trying to eat right, which I don't do very well at. And so I'm on the right bank. Well, this is a whole new world to explore, right? You don't really usually think about your life having a possibly near end. It just goes on. Now, we're all of an age here, and this could happen to anybody here, okay? Suddenly, you go, oh shit, if you look at the actuarial figures, my chance of being here 2 years from now are very small with what I've got. So, but then it leads me into all kinds of philosophical speculation. What does it mean to prepare for death? Can you even prepare for it? I'm not even sure that you can. And if I have time, I'll go into a little bit of the philosophy. But let me say what I've learned from this. Because after the shock wore off, and after I stopped drinking and smoking dope, things changed in my head. I found I started dreaming again. I hadn't dreamt for years. Now I dream. It's nice to dream because I don't have cancer in my dreams. I get around pretty well. My emotions became more accessible to me. I tried to read a poem over at their house, and I couldn't stop crying. I'm not a crying kind of guy, I don't do that. But I couldn't help it. And I don't even care anymore. So I feel that my whole emotional life has expanded immensely. And then what's important, right, changes too. Everybody's so wrapped up in the minutiae of their day-to-day life. They're so involved with life. They're involved in what they're doing and everything. Well, you get what I got. You're abstracted from life. You watch all the people wandering around and you go, well, he doesn't have cancer. They don't have cancer. They're going around. They're not thinking about it, anything like that. But you're outside of that. Well, that gives you time to think about things the way you never thought about it before because you're not so engrossed in your own thing anymore. You don't have a thing anymore. There is no future anymore. You're there in the moment, okay? Puts you more in the moment. And then what I discovered from that was that the main thing is love. I mean, that's a cliche. But it's your love for your friends, for your family. That makes life meaningful and worthwhile. And also I found my compassion for just everybody. I mean everybody. I'm just not judgmental about anybody anymore. Because I know now what can happen. And I know that we're all facing a similar fate. And when you realize that deeply enough, you feel compassion and empathy for other people, for their sufferings. And so this has been really good. So I would say that getting this diagnosis and being in this process has expanded my being beyond what it was. If I look back at the left side, I go, well, that was a great life. But it was a bit limited. It was a bit truncated in certain ways that I see, but I couldn't see it unless I'd gone past that. So it's been a real development on my part. So I look at it as a learning experience. And even though I can't do the things that I used to do, I can still enjoy the things that I still can do. Like this morning, pretty good this morning. Enjoyed the breakfast, enjoyed talking with you all. This is great. And again, I'm blessed because a lot of people still wish they could do what they did. They still yearn for what they had, and they regret, things they didn't do or things they did do that they can't do anything about now. Well, I don't find that in my case. I'm not yearning, and I'm not missing, and I'm not saying why me, and I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just seeing this as a new dispensation with new insights to be had. And I don't have faith in anything, and I don't believe in another life. I mean, I could send you my paper on the immortality of radical finitude, if you wanted, which holds that you get to live the life that you've lived forever. I have a theory that argues that case. So yes, there is a kind of immortality, but it's radically finite because you can never see it as a whole. It's not like you can get to heaven and then look back at your life as a whole and go, oh yeah, I live this kind of life. Because you're always caught up in your life at a certain time. But my view is that the time don't really disappear, that the past is present in a way. So the past is only a kind of present. So whatever you were doing 10 years ago right now, you're still doing it. And you will be doing it forever. And today, you will be here forever. We will always be here. Well, anyway, I don't have time to argue that. But
interesting theory,
Plato says that philosophy, that is the love of wisdom, is a preparation for death. Okay, but the Greek word is meletes, which has a lot of meanings, and it also means to be concerned with or mindful of the fact of death as something that you should live with, like they knew in the Middle Ages, right? In those paintings when they had the memento mori. Where they had the painting of you all in your finery and looking at the globe, and you'd have your square and your right angle and everything, but there would be a skull on the table, right, to remind you of death. Now Plato had a particular, and Socrates had a particular angle. Philosophy is a preparation for death because death is the separation of the soul from the body. And the soul is immortal, and he tries to prove that in the Phaedo, that the soul is immortal. He admits, however, that he can't prove it. He just does the best he can with it. He says, look, either death is nothing, in which case we really don't have to worry about it. And my folly will die with me, he says. Or there is another world, and you'll be better off in that world if you live a good life than if you live a bad life. So he's looking at it as a preparation for another life. And since I don't believe that, I'm not looking at it as a preparation for another life. But then, in what sense can philosophy be a preparation for death? But I want to claim that it is. I want to claim that not studying the philosophy I did, which is the ancients and Plato and Aristotle and Spinoza and all the greats who have a lot of interesting things to say about life and death together, as being part of the same process, is what prepared me for that diagnosis when I got it, when the doctor told me I had this. And it's why I didn't panic, and I didn't go into denial, and I didn't go into wishful thinking, and I didn't go into, oh my God, now, despairing thoughts. Because really, when you think about it, we've all lived most of our lives already, okay? So nothing can cancel that out, right? So just because at the end you get a fatal illness and you die, that doesn't invalidate your life. It's just the end. It's just a little part of it when you think of it. So I have realized, however, that we have to have faith in something. And I realized that I've got faith that the sun is going to come up tomorrow, right? I've got faith in the principle of induction, that the future will be like the past in certain relevant respects, at least enough so that you can make plans for the future. But it's a notorious problem in philosophy that it's impossible to prove the validity of the principle of induction. You can't actually prove that the future is going to be like the past. I mean, if the sun blew up 7 minutes ago, we're all fried in 1 minute from now. Okay? And there won't be a sunrise tomorrow. It doesn't have to be. But, okay, so what do I have faith in? I have faith in nature. That nature brings us into this world through natural processes, and it takes us out of this world through natural processes. And no matter what a failure you are in life, it doesn't matter how big a failure you are, you won't fail in being able to die. Everybody's a success at dying. And there will come a time when everybody comes into the world alone and we go out alone. Okay? But there'll come a time and nature will just have mercy on you and it'll say, Jeff, time to go. It's like Hume says on his deathbed. He tells this story about, you're on the boat and death is at the tiller, right? And he stops to reprovision or something. He says, well, if you're old, he says, when you get off the boat, don't go too far away. And when death calls, be ready to go. Okay. So I don't have to worry about it. And because I'm trying to think of things, since I don't see anything outside of life, this is the thing for me. Where I am, this is Epicurus. Where I am, death is not. Where death is, I am not. So everything I will ever know is life. Okay? And again, that feeds into my immortality thesis, because what is a being that never tastes death? It's an immortal being. Something that never will experience death. So, this means, see, as Heidegger says, we're enfolded in time. We are beings that we are always living toward the future from a past. And no matter how long we live, even if we only have 5 minutes, we're living toward the future. And then I just came to this realization the other day, that before you actually die, when the doctor can put a little something on your toe and have you taken away to the morgue with a death certificate and all, you're going to pass out. I just can't see any alternative to that. We're all going to pass out before we die. And you know what passing out is like. You pass out when you go to sleep every night, right? Or if you've ever been hit on the head or whatever. We've all experienced becoming unconscious. Right? And then we remember, like you go to sleep at night, that doesn't bother you. You wake up the next morning. Oh yeah, I got really tired and I went to sleep. So, if I'm right, and you pass out before you die, then we have to agree with Wittgenstein that death is not an experience in life. It can't be an experience in life. You cannot experience death because you won't be there to experience it. If you were there to experience it, it means you're smuggling yourself in, imaginatively, into what it might be like to be dead. But you can't imagine what it's like to be dead. You, really, gone. You can't imagine it. So, like I say, at the end, nature will call. And until then, I'm going to believe that the chemo's going to work, and I'm on the trial, and I'm going to get better, and I have a number of years left, and I'm going to make the best of those, and I'm not going to have a lot of pain, because I don't see any point in believing anything else, believing negatively in things. So, and if I'm wrong, well, nature will make that apparent, and nature will call, and I will go. So that's my talk. If you have any questions?